Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Coaster News. And as always, we've got some amazing news from different theme parks, rides, attractions, and events all over the world. So let's just get straight into the news today. Our top story for tonight: Legoland Windsor have submitted plans for a Vekoma and duelling family boomerang coaster. And obviously, this is a very unexpected piece of news from Legoland Windsor. Obviously, if you don't know what I'm talking about, recently Legoland Windsor submitted planning applications to their local council for a brand new roller coaster. It's going to be a duelling roller coaster. It's going to be built by Dutch manufacturer Vekoma. It's going to be a family boomerang coaster. So it's going to be very similar to what was it called, Twist Ride. I can't even remember what park it was, but that's also a duelling family boomerang coaster. This is going to be the second one of those ever built. And obviously, if you don't know what a family boomerang coaster is, it's similar to a regular boomerang coaster, which is basically it goes backwards up the lift hill. Obviously, there's nothing at the top of the lift hill, and then it goes back down, forwards, and it goes through a few inversions, and it goes back up again. But obviously, it goes up a near vertical spike, and it goes backwards through the whole layout again. Obviously, a family boomerang coaster is very similar to that, but it's more of a family-oriented layout with no inversions and more turns and airtime moments to make it fun for the whole family. And Legoland Windsor are planning to build one of those, except it will be two tracks that will be dueling with itself, intertwining with other sections of the ride. So it's going to be really cool what they're building. It's going to be located on the former site of the Raft Racers ride. And it sounds really interesting. Obviously, the plans have only just been submitted, so they haven't been approved yet. But it'll take a few months for the plans to be approved. But if they do, this attraction will likely open in 2024 at the earliest. But it looks really cool. I'm glad that Legoland have started to finally get back to building big, proper, full-on scale attractions again. Obviously, Legoland Windsor is a family theme park. It's mainly targeted at little kids. Obviously, the biggest attraction they've got is probably the Dragon, and that's also a family coaster, but it's quite a large-scale family coaster. This new Vekoma dueling boomerang family coaster will likely become the larger coaster in the park, but obviously it will still be a fun ride and great for the whole family. Obviously, the coasters they've got at the moment, they've got the Dragon, the Dragon's Apprentice, and Duplo Dino Coaster. Obviously, the current thrill level for each of those rides, Duplo Dino Coaster is has the lowest thrill level, and that's their newest coaster. It opened way back in 2020, just before lockdown, actually. And obviously, that's probably the tamest coaster there. The next one up is probably Dragon's Apprentice, which is also a very tame ride. But I say it sits in between Duplo Dino Coaster and the Dragon, and obviously the most intense one they've got at the moment is the Dragon. And even that's not really that intense for most people like you and me who are nearly grown up. Obviously, if you're got little kids and they see that ride, they might find it scary. But obviously, they've got the other two coasters that they would like to go on. Dragon's Apprentice and Duplo Dino Coaster. Obviously, this new boomerang coaster will probably become the most intense coaster in the park, but it'll still be great for the whole family. I cannot wait for it to be built. I'm glad that Legoland are actually building coasters again in Windsor, because obviously before Duplo Dino Coaster, which opened back in 2020, the most recent coaster was the Dragon's Apprentice, which opened way back in 1999. And obviously we hear how everyone says that Chessington and Thorpe Park need new coasters. Well, up until Duplo Dino Coaster opened, Legoland Windsor was more desperate for a coaster than either of them. Bear in mind, Legoland Windsor isn't mainly focused on coasters, because before Duplo Dino, actually at this current moment in time, they've only got 3 coasters. But like I said, it's mainly targeted at young children, and obviously they'll have other different attractions. But in recent years, Legoland seems to have been expanding a bit more. Obviously, in 2021, last year, they added Lego Mythica, which is this insanely themed area. Apparently, it's their greatest investment they've ever done, according to a lot of people that have been to Legoland when it opened. Obviously, this year they've expanded to Mythica by adding the Magical Forest, I believe it's called, which is like a walkthrough attraction. Obviously, before then they had Duplo Dino Coaster and basically just refurbished all of that Duplo Valley area. And in 2019 they added the Haunted House Monster Party ride, which was similar to Hex Alton Towers, but obviously themed to Lego. And this new coaster seems to be a brand new expansion, continuing the expansion plan for Legoland Windsor. In other news today, Thorpe Park have officially revealed the full lineup for Fright Nights 2022. And obviously this is something that we have all been waiting for quite some time, ever since they started the teasers back in early August, I think it was. But if you're confused by what I'm talking about, this year for Fright Nights, Thorpe Park, instead of like announcing the entire lineup all at once in like one little announcement video, they basically revealed each individual attraction at one at a time, over the like every couple of days in little different trailer type videos. And obviously I actually reported this when they started the teasing. Back then they'd only announced the return of trailers and the Crows of Morecambe Meadow. Obviously a few weeks later, here we are, and they have now announced the full lineup for Fright Nights this year. So what they've announced is they've announced the return of trailers and Morecambe Meadow, which we already covered. They've also confirmed the return of Creek Freaks Unchained, but this year they're not going to, because all of the Old Town area is blocked off for construction due to Project Exodus. The Buckwheats, which are the characters part of the Scare Zone, are going to be roaming the entire island this year. That's going to be insane. Just like they're like literally everywhere, running after people with their chainsaws. That's going to be amazing. And obviously they confirmed the return of Creek Freak Massacre, but they've renamed it to Creek Freak Massacre: The Final Cut, which is pretty much confirming that this is actually the final year of Creek Freak Massacre ever. And that's really sad to see the mayor's go, but the reason obviously it's the last year is because hopefully, fingers crossed, if the plans get approved, we'll be getting the UK's tallest roller coaster on that site. So what do you think? Would you rather see the return of Creek Freak Massacre or Thorpe Park build Project Exodus and claim the UK's tallest roller coaster and the newest hypercoaster in this country? Let me know what you think. Obviously after that they confirmed the return of Amity High versus Lycanthrope. However, this year they've renamed it to Amity High versus Lycanthrope: Graduation Sucks, which is obviously hinting that this could be the final year of Amity High and Lycanthrope. Obviously, that Scare Zone originally started as Terror at Amity High in 2018. Obviously back then it was just a normal Scare Zone. It wasn't even like how it is now, where they had the flash mob show in front of the school bus. Obviously the next year in 2019 they changed it to Terror at Amity High School Sucks, where it became a flash mob show, and that's when it started to increase in popularity. And obviously in 2020 for Festival they brought the Howling of Lycanthrope High, which started the rivalry between the two Scare Zones. And then last year they merged those two Scare Zones into one as Amity High versus Lycanthrope Love Bites. And then this year they're introducing it as Graduation Sucks, which seems that it's going to be the final year of Amity High versus Lycanthrope. We'll have to find out and see. And then other than that, we're now getting onto the new attractions for this year. They've introduced 3 new scare attractions for this year. The first one they announced was The Terminal, which is an audio scare experience. Now, this is quite different than what we usually get. Rather than being a scare maze or a scare zone, it's some kind of new scare experience. And basically, Thorpe Park have partnered with another company called Darkfield, which build these other like immersive experiences all across the country, to bring you some kind of... I don't think it's going to have actors in it, but it's going to have a lot of audio technology and high special effects. It's supposed to be really immersive attraction. You basically sat in this little pod on your own, and you have to put headphones on which plays audio, and there'll be like loads of special effects to make. Basically you're on this spaceship in this pod traveling to a distant galaxy, and then your spaceship gets hijacked by unearthly creatures, and you have no choice but to stay in your pod and accept your fate. That's what they've put in the description, and it sounds really cool and immersive what they're doing, and I cannot wait for it. And obviously the second new attraction they announced was Death's Doors, which is a brand new scare zone for this year. I believe that's going in the Nemesis Inferno area, and it's going to be, you have to walk through the area, and there's going to be 21 doors which contain sinister and scary characters in them, and you have to knock on them as you go past, and I cannot wait for it to open. And the final new attraction they announced for Fright Nights this year is a brand new scare maze called Survival Games. And this is different than any other scare maze I've ever done. Basically, you have to enter in this like survival challenge to claim a spot on some kind of social media platform called Wyval. And apparently it's supposed to be according to Thorpe Park, it's going to be designed to terrify even the most fearless. And that's interesting because the teaser trailer that they released didn't really seem to make it look that scary, and yet when they released the description for the attraction, they're saying it's going to be a free-flow scare maze, and it's going to have multiple routes that you can take across the entire attraction. They say it's going to be ultra intense with multiple genres of horror to terrify even the most fearless. And they also stated it's going to be the single biggest, single investment in Fright Nights history. That is insane. And I cannot wait for all of these attractions to open at Fright Nights 2022. Obviously, Fright Nights this year is starting on 30th of September and is going to run all the way until the 31st of October. And it sounds absolutely incredible what they're doing. What attraction are you most hyped for Fright Nights? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I cannot wait for Fright Nights to begin this year. Also in the news today, and this is kind of really sad news, very sad news for Yorkshire theme parks, specifically Lightwater Valley. They have confirmed that they have no plans to reopen the Ultimate. Obviously, this is absolutely devastating news from the park. We kind of saw this coming because, if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically, obviously, most people have heard of the Ultimate, which opened back in 1991. It is a roller coaster that's kind of when it first opened, it was the world's longest roller coaster. Obviously, that title got taken from it a few years later with Steel Dragon 2000 in Japan, but it still retained the title for Europe's longest. But in 2019, that was currently its last operating year at the time of recording. Obviously, in 2020, I think it was due to the COVID pandemic and also an accident on the Twister ride the year before, which caused Lightwater Valley to reconsider their target audience and decided that they want a target audience for it to be under 12s. And obviously, that led to them removing basically pretty much all of their major thrill rides except for the Ultimate, which has been SBNO ever since, standing but not operating since 2019, which was when it last operated. And obviously there were pictures released by UK theme parks on social media which showed just how much of a mess the ride is in. It looks absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. And recently, Lightwater Valley themselves confirmed that they have no plans to reopen the ride as it has been decommissioned, because obviously their target audience is for under 12 children. And obviously that the Ultimate, as amazing as it is and iconic, such an attraction, it doesn't fit into their lineup. This is absolutely devastating news. Let me know if you ever got to ride the Ultimate when it last operated in the comments below. And finally in the news today, Merlin Entertainments have announced Legoland Belgium, which, if the plans are approved, they plan for it to open in 2027. Obviously this is very interesting news indeed, because Merlin seem to be building a lot of these Legoland parks, literally left and right everywhere, all across the world. I've literally lost count of which number of parks are being built, including this one. Obviously, Legoland Belgium is a brand new theme park that's planned to be built in Belgium somewhere, obviously, because it's in the name. It's planned to open in 2027 if the plans get approved. This is going to add to the continually growing list of Legoland theme parks. So obviously, there are probably more Legoland theme parks than there are other Merlin attractions combined. We've got Legoland Windsor, which is in the UK, Legoland Belgium, which is obviously opening in a few years, Legoland Korea, which I believe has only just recently opened, Legoland Deutschland, Legoland California, Legoland Florida, Legoland New York, which opened last year. There's a lot of Legoland parks everywhere. There's Legoland Shanghai, which I believe is opening either next year or 2024. There's too many to count, honestly. There's so many Lego parks everywhere, and that's not even including the Discovery Centres. But that's mainly just Legoland theme parks themselves. There's so many of them, honestly. Yeah, I believe there's over 15 Legoland parks, or maybe 20, I don't know. I've really lost count. There's a lot in Europe, obviously. Obviously, there's Legoland Dubai, Legoland Malaysia. The list goes on, honestly. It's going to continue to keep growing as long as Merlin see profit and enjoyment from the Legoland parks around the world. So the newest one is being built in Belgium, and it's planned to open in 2027. and it looks amazing what they're planning to build. Obviously, the most recent one they opened, I believe, was Legoland Korea. I could be wrong. It was either Legoland Korea, which I'm not sure if that's opened yet or if it's still being built. But if not, I believe their most recent one was Legoland New York, which opened July last year, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of these Legoland parks everywhere. Obviously, there's still only one in the UK. There's like multiple in Europe and America and Asia. It's really amazing how fast these Legoland parks are spreading around the world. I believe the first one was, what was the first? First Legoland park was Legoland Denmark, I think, or is it? No, it's Legoland Belgium. Sorry, that's what it was called. Yeah, obviously because that's near to the Legoland, near to the original Lego factory, because it's based in Denmark, and obviously there's loads of these around the world, and Legoland Belgium is going to continue these of this list of Legoland parks around the world, and it looks really exciting. So yeah, that is it for this week's episode of Coast News. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, then please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you'd like to see in the next video. Bye!